Hello, thank you for joining this video in which I will talk about my feedback regarding my recent trip to El Salvador. So first let me tell you a bit about the context of the trip. So I'm French, I'm 28 years old and I just came back from my trip from El Salvador. I just spent almost 3 weeks there and I went alone. It was only my third trip to Latin America. I've been to Mexico twice, but it was always with someone. It was so my first alone trip, and I pick El Salvador because, to be honest, was kind of more authentic, more original. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. So also we hear about this country in the news regarding security, regarding bitcoins, regarding this kind of things, regarding this kind of news. So it was kind of a positive approach that I got. Additionally, I wanted to discover more about Central America since I really like the south of Mexico, Merida and Yucatan and this part. So I wanted to deep diver. So El Salvador is quite a small country in Latin America, so in the south of Mexico, between Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. So regarding this trip, I had it in my mind for a while. I would say for a few weeks, a few months, but I only really decided myself. I would say maybe 2 weeks ago. I mean, 2 weeks prior to decide to book my plane ticket. I went from Dublin to San Salvador. It cost me around 650 euros round trip. So it was quite cheap. I made a stop at Miami just for a few hours, and then it was fine. Of course, I needed to pay the ESTA, so which is kind of a tax, if I can say it like that, of $40 to be able for 2 years to be able to go through the US. Okay, so for that kind of trip, I just wanted to discover. My plan was to go through to different kind of cities. I didn't really did my research, to be honest. I didn't really check what could be done. Also, I speak Spanish, so it helped to make me feel more comfortable, and I felt I could survive, or I could manage to to find my path there. However, from the moment I book the plane, I booked the trip. Finally, I was going there. I found myself kind of anxious or stressed or in fear. Not that much for the security part, not at all. It was more because I was afraid to not enjoy myself, to not feel integrated to the society, if I can say so, to feel too much apart, or to not be social enough, or to not meet people because I was going there alone, so to be kind of excluded. Actually, I kind of spoil you the end of the video, but I learned that with this trip that when we travel solo, we are never really alone, and actually the challenge is quite the opposite, is to be able to say no and to choose with whom we want to spend time with, because the time is precious. We can have solicitation quite a lot actually. So the question is, okay, which path we want to follow? Do we want to follow this group of backpacker, of this friend we made in the very beginning, or do we want to explore still solo, to decide to be alone and to let ourselves open for opportunity? So it's a kind of a parenthesis about solo trip. So don't worry if you are there, if you feel the same way. Even on the plane, on the day to take it, on the day priors, I almost wanted to cancel because I was like too scared to leave my comfort zone. So yeah, I until the very last minute, I was scared about that. Even on the plane, even one day after, when I was there, when I woke up there, I felt lost because it's significantly different from Europe. But let's get back on track. So my first impression on arrival is that I got lucky because, as I told you, I went alone, but then we meet people quite easily. And in Miami, when I was waiting for the plane to San Salvador, so San Salvador, the capital, and El Salvador, the country. So I was lucky enough to meet an Italian woman, more or less 50 years old, and we were the two only strangers taking that plane for San Salvador. She was going for the same purpose as me, simply to discover, and we managed to connect there. And we managed to talk, to become friends in the end. And luckily for me, she was way more used to traveling to Latin America's country, and me, it was my first time, so I could really use her knowledge or experience, and it was really a match. So then we kind of connect, we arrive to the airport. I would recommend you to have some US dollars directly with you because it's a national currency, the US dollar. So I would recommend you to have some cash with you, and we decided to take a taxi because we arrived quite late. Actually, I heard later on that there is a bus between San Salvador and the airport. So I guess it would be kind of a cheapest option, less comfortable maybe, but definitely a cheapest option. Regarding the taxi, I had quite a bad experience about them, but I guess it's a typical tourist tax because the price were definitely inflated. So there in El Salvador, I would highly recommend you to download Uber and then to use that as your taxi app. Also, there is another app that I discovered there that I think is called Drive. And actually, the idea is that you offer a price for a travel. So you said, okay, from the airport to San Salvador, I offer you $15 to do it. And then drivers accept or not your offers. So sometimes you can definitely have some trip in a way cheaper than even what you would have in Uber, like maybe half price. So it can be definitely useful if you want to go to the beach, for example, from the capital. You can have it for maybe $15, $10. 10 maybe it's a bit exaggerated, but 15 absolutely, yeah, so it. So then my first impression is that obviously it's warm during my whole trip there. So I went in mid-November and it was warm, like I would say 30 degrees Celsius. And it was raining from time to time, maybe in 3 weeks. Yeah, it's been raining, what, 3 days? Sometimes with some surf storm, but only in the evening, like after sunset and yeah, a bit of rain. Well, the rain was quite violent there, but most of the time it was just really sunny, really warm, so like tropical weather. So of course, when we arrive, we just get out of the airport. You have this kind of feeling like being in the oven, and that's quite nice actually. Then when we arrive from the airport, the pass from the airport to the capital, it's a nice road, and actually you have some kind of lamp, some kind of I don't know what to call that, but like public lightning, and then on it you have like the Salvadorian flag, so blue, white, blue, and quite for a long way. So it gives this impression of welcoming, patriotism. Yeah, this kind of nice feeling that kind of show off a bit. Yeah, so that's quite nice. Now regarding San Salvador, I just stayed the first night there. After I went to some other place, I came back later on. But about the city, of course, it's the capital, so you have a lot of things there, a lot of people, a lot of activity. Walking around the city outside of the historical center was not the most pleasant experience ever. It's not like I would say a typical European country in I mean city in which you can walk around and it's an experience on itself and it's a pleasant pedestrian adventure. There it's kind of a lot of cars and sometimes to cross it's a bit dodgy as well. But it's still a nice city with quite a lot to see. Especially, I would mention the library in city center. It's a very modern building, very nice, really great building. In front, you have the Palacio Nacional, and then you have also the teatro, so the theater. There were an activity regarding music, regarding instrument. I wanted to join. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but and it was free. So actually, I would have been happy to to go there to visit there. The city that really caught my attention was Santa Ana. It was more in the west. So to go there, you can take a bus. I can put you where to take it with the Google Map link in the description. But then you can take a bus to go there, and it costs what? The bus costs between 25 cents to $1.50 maximum, even for yes 2 hours trip between cities. So it's actually really cheap and quite convenient. The only issue with bus is that you need to know where to take them, where they stop, where they are going, at what time, and this I had difficulty to find a single source of truth. So then I needed to ask people around uh, for my way. So I was asking in hostel where I was staying to people here and there, and it worked, but it make the thing a bit more difficult. That's so cheap that I guess it's worth it. So then regarding the everyday life, so regarding food, it's about Latin American food, so the typical tacos and things like that. But the typical food would be the pupusas. So it's kind of you have them with rice or with maize, corn, and then inside you have different kind of things, so frijoles, beans, chicharron, I guess it's beef, and plenty of things. So I highly recommend that. It's very good. And then you have one pupusa for $1. Sometimes you have even cheaper, but I would say in average it's that. So we eat for very cheap. I would say also some place or like I mean some hostel or some restaurant offer breakfast, and then, if I remember well, the price would be $5 or six, seven, eight, but probably no much than that. And a typical breakfast would be like a fried platano, so it's a kind of banana, avocado, cheese, the frijoles, so the bean, and yeah, this kind of stuff. Eggs as well. So you can find plenty of places that would sell you the breakfast. Regarding the hostel and the accommodation experience, same, regarding San Salvador, I managed to test many different accommodations. Often I was taking rooms in San Salvador, but I was not really happy with the offers. I managed to find two places that I can put you in the description that were actually nice. Um, but most of them were not that great. Something that you need to know if you're not familiar with Latin America is that because it's really warm, and maybe for other reason as well, people living there take cold shower. So then it's expected, it's often that you take an accommodation with a room, with a private bathroom, but you actually have cold shower. So okay, it's fresh, it's convenient when it's really warm and you have been walking like crazy and you just want to refresh yourself. But sometimes I'm so used to hot water that I would like something a bit warmer, and it's mainly for tourism actually that they would offer this warm water. So be careful, you might not have it where you are staying. Otherwise, most of the time I was staying in hostel, so what they would call dormitorio. And then the price is very competitive. So it would be like $12 and a half. This kind of price between 10 for the cheapest and maybe 15, 18, this kind of price. But actually my experience in hostel were very good in dormitory also. And it's really make things easier to connect with people because well, there's this physical proximity, and then you see this person, you talk, what are you up to, what's your plan, where do you come from, and so on. So yeah, yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Um, yes. So after regarding my trip, I went to Santa Ana. I highly recommend that. That place, I really enjoy it. You have a volcano there, so volcano of Santa Ana. I found two options to go there. You have either tours, often if you can find like guide, or in your hostel probably they would offer tours. That the tour I saw, I think it was around $20 to that, or you can take a bus yourself, and you can go to Santa Ana. The challenge is that you would take it in the morning, and then you have another bus at 1:30. Otherwise, the other one is at 4, and I think you need to take 2 to come back in city center. So it's kind of making things a bit more trickier. So the thing is usually to go there, if you take the bus, climb the volcano, stay there maybe 20-30 minutes, and then go down and then take the bus. It's quite some effort to climb it. Definitely it take at least 1 hour, I think, if it's not 1 hour 30. So it can be a bit physical to do so. Close to it, you have the lake. I haven't been there. Some tours include it, and it just kind of I didn't made it my priority. But you have plenty of other things to do around. You have Las Rutas del Flores, so it's kind of different villages, if I'm not mistaken, to discover as well. On the weekend, you have some food markets around there. You have waterfalls, so the 7 waterfalls, Las Siete Cascadas. If I'm not mistaken, again, I guess it is in San Salvador, which is a city close to it. Also, my tip regarding Santa Ana would be to visit the Cathedral. So you have a church in the middle, just in front of the place, and then if you go, you enter you enter just in the middle of it. You go slightly to the right. You will have someone that would guide you to just climb the stairs, and then you would pay $3, and then you can visit the roof, and you can walk on top of this church, and you have a wonderful view of Santa Ana, of the city. So I would definitely recommend that. Okay, now regarding then after I went back to San Salvador, meet a few people, did some activities. After went to the south, so the beach. So maybe the most famous one would be El Tunco. So for the story, El Tunco means pig in Spanish, and when you arrive to El Tunco, you go straight, you go to the beach, and then you have a big rock. And apparently, the name of pig has been given because this rock looked like a pig laying down. Well, it's a bit abstract, but I guess that's the story. Anyway, it was not my favorite beach, to be honest with you, because it's kind of maybe the most popular one, so quite a lot of stranger. And also, I don't surf myself, but there's plenty of surfers, and it's known for that. I mean, the waves are actually big and strong, so makes sense. But to swim like I wanted to, just to enjoy and to go to the water, you have plenty of rocks on the beach, so it's just a bit less pleasant. Of course, you can do it, and of course, it was nice. You just walk around, walk a bit on the rock, and then once you go a bit further, you have a plain ground, and you are just in the water and taking the wave and so on. But if you want to swim, what I would recommend is just a city, maybe 15 minutes in bus to the west, called El Zonte. And actually, it was way calmer. I mean, regarding people, it was not as how to say it. We couldn't say that El Tunco was crowded. Absolutely not. There were not a lot of people, but the majority of people that were there were foreigners, and I would say maybe from the US. While in El Zonte, I felt it was more niche, just slightly more, and I guess there is plenty of more hidden, more local, and better one than this one. But if I had to compare, just pick these two, I would say this one. So El Zonte was actually very nice. One thing you can do to really travel on a budget is that if you go from San Salvador and then you go to the south, you can take a bus from San Salvador to go to La Libertad. La Libertad is a city on the south as well, to go to the close to the beach. And then there, I was staying in an hotel, or I had a room actually with a shared bathroom and a shared bathroom for same $15 maybe 12 something like that. And actually on this hostel they even rent tents, so they have some kind of balcony. They put 5 tents and they charge you $5 per night. So that means you can stay close to the beach, and when I say close to the beach, it's one street away. So it's a kind of more less touristic area, but you are one street away from the beach, and you can sleep for $5. But you sleep in a tent or in a room for $15. What we did is that we stayed there, and then we took the bus to go to El Tunco, El Zonte, and so on. And it took us maybe 20 minutes, and the bus was once again 25 cents. So it was actually very cheap, very, very nice. Okay, so it was a whole trip. Regarding security, so security was amazing, 10 out of 10. So I never felt unsafe. I always felt very secure in any kind of situation, even when I was kind of, I wouldn't say provocating, but not taking the caution maybe I should have taken. For example, in Santa Ana, I was walking around with a gym short, so I had no pocket. So that means I was carrying my phone, carrying my wallet with more than $100 in it, my keys, everything, and walking around the street like that. It was kind of not dark street, but kind of. It was end of the day, so not a lot of people, and I was just walking around like that, and everything was fine. Also, one day I don't had any data anymore, and I lost my hostel. I didn't know where it was, so I just asked around the people in the street, saying, "Hey, do you know where that hostel?" And then people were just guiding me, and nothing happened. And it's also a feeling to be safe, and I really felt safe at any time. Also, on the opportunities I had to talk with locals, the Salvadorians, they always told me that I would never get attacked or assaulted or robbed. Maybe my only risk would be to forget something and then someone take it and go away with that, but no confrontational issue, if you get me. So yeah, it's Seven confessed that it was actually super safe. And I can say that at the beach, at the capital, at this Santana's place, in tourism. So yeah, it was actually very good. Since I'm talking about kind of political aspect of it, for me, when I heard about that, when I noticed all of this, I was thinking, well, the governments must be really liked, really loved, and people should be 100% behind it, and it's a clear success. It can only be a clear success. So then I asked the people I met there that was living there, young ones, and actually they give me a more nuanced picture. So they told me that they have some kind of criticism still about the government, meaning that while they confess and they admit that the security improved dramatically, like nothing, I felt more safe in El Salvador than in Western Europe, to be honest. They say, why is this happening? It comes with a cost of less freedom, um, and maybe a more dictatorial kind of style of government. By that they meant of like NGO being closed off or that needed to leave the country. Also political pressure, maybe with some journalists, with some public figures that were against the government. So with these pressures, people have to leave the country and some kind of censorship, these kind of things. So then I want to let people appreciate and see what do they think about that, and I don't want to go too much into this, this yeah, the thick of it, like the issue, but I guess it's not all pink, but we can admit that for tourism it's really can be a success, and I see this country growing for the future. While I walk in the street, taking transportation, I haven't seen that much stranger. We can see a few in, of course, the touristic place, the volcanoes, the beach, but in the daily life, on the city, I felt the population were very homogeneous. Like, meaning, I don't feel, say, a lot of immigration or a lot of tourism that we can see maybe in Mexico or in other countries. So, yeah, I guess it's not yet that much of a popular place, but I think it should be, and it will be. because it's a very nice place. Regarding people, regarding my social experience, to come back with my fear that I talk about in the beginning of the video, actually, as I told you, I was very surrounded and I actually managed to connect with locals. So to meet some friend, and then after that would become friend of friend, and to expand like this my social circle and to actually meet people that live, study there, work there, sometimes with people with more age, younger one, and it was actually very nice. And people are very helpful. Um, Sometimes they would see me at the bus stop and they would proactively ask me, "Where are you going? Where are you expecting to go?" And I guess because it's not that much of a stranger and I definitely don't look like the typical Salvadorian, there was some kind also of curiosity, and I really enjoy this maybe this joyful approach of my defense. So it was very nice to be around and discover all of that. Also, to be totally fair with you, and that's an important point I want to make, is that I discover many things about this country. And when I went to El Salvador, my friend, some colleagues, some people around me were kind of making jokes about the typical stereotype about Latin American countries, saying, it's very dangerous, you will be kidnapped, they are not developed, and so on. Well, actually, I think we should really reconsider these kind of judgments. For example, regarding health system, I managed to visit a clinic, so kind of a very little hospital, and then I was able to talk with people working there, and actually, it's doctors, so general doctor, GP, that are free and are waiting for people to arrive with any kind of issue and to take care of them for free, even strangers. So I asked that. So that means anybody that arrives, that walk in with any kind of issue, can see a doctor in a reasonable amount of time, in maybe a few hours for the most constrained days. But at the time I was there, it was free. So anybody that would walk in would see almost in 10 minutes a doctor for free, and strangers included. For example, in Ireland, even the emergency, you need to wait 8 hours in the public sector to get taken care of. So that would mean that El Salvador would have a better public health system than Ireland, for example. The roads were nice. What else? A commercial center. I saw more than one commercial center that is really kind of westernized, complete, very nice. You see what I mean? When I talk about that, I mean the fountain in the ground floor. Then after 2 floors of shop. Then after the third floor, full of food options, and then the fourth one would be a big cinema. So then you have any kind of comfort and the word is not advertising, but this kind of thing, entertainment that you would seek in a westernized country. So if the health system is actually working, you have infrastructure like commercial center. What else you have? You have plenty of things like the nature, the food, and so on. So actually, it's quite nice, and yeah, and the people are, again, I really want to put that in centers. They were really helpful as well. Very nice. So regarding budget, I didn't do my budget. I don't know how much I spend overall, but then with the food costing a few dollars per meal, the transportation being very cheap if you take the bus, or more expensive if you take Uber and things like that. It's kind of cheap travel, if I can say so. And then after, for the challenges of the trip, I would say maybe it's transportation. Maybe because it's not that much of a touristical place yet, you don't have everything indicated, everything already made for you. So you kind of make your own trip. You kind of need to make your own pass and to look into internet, blog, and things like that to really know where to take the bus. What kind of option do you have? For example, I have a friend that went to Suchitoto. and it's a city more in the north of San Salvador, and they told me it's really nice. As well, on the west, I forgot the name exactly how it's called, but you can take a tent and then camp on the on a point of view and to have a very nice view of the nature and all of that. But it will be significantly more on the east. And apparently, you have also really nice beach on the southeast of the country. You can go to Nicaragua by boat as well. So you have plenty of things like that. There's plenty of things to discover. I went to Tamanique and to go to see the cascadas, so the waterfall. And it was as again very nice because we walk quite a lot with a sun, and it's make things obviously really warm. So to be able to jump into waterfall, like literally, and to swim in them was very refreshing. Really, it's kind of a simple activity, but absolutely amazing to just connect also with nature. So also the goal of this video was different things. So to make a point about solo traveling, to really talk positively about El Salvador, that's regarding safety and what the nature has to offer. The people are really great. The food is great as well. It's quite cheap still, and it's a country really worth traveling and really changed my mind about how I see things as well. And internationally, what we call a developed country, what we call an underdeveloped country, I guess it's worth maybe to revisit our mind, also to see maybe that the political situation has some controversy as well as that for Bitcoin. Let me talk a bit about that. So before to go, I was kind of curious about it because plenty of people in interviews, documentary, and so on said, "Ah, El Salvador have been the first country to adopt it nationally," and so on. Well, my experience with that is that it's true in some hostel they say that you can pay in Bitcoin in them. I went to supermarket in Santa Ana, and then you have plenty of signs. Plenty. Well, you had one that said you could pay in Bitcoin. Um, so at the moment of paying my few groceries, I said, "Ah, can I pay in Bitcoin?" And then the woman working there, I felt that made a face of surprise. I wouldn't say fear, but you know when you're like, "Wow, I I need to I don't know to that." It's kind of a embarrassing situation. She said, "Ah, let me ask my coworker how to do that." And I told her, "It's fine. You, well, I can pay with card and everything will be fine." But then I felt I don't wanted to make her feel embarrassed. But that means also that it's not that frequent that someone pay by Bitcoin, I guess. I know during my trip I never saw anyone working paying with that currency. And going to the south, going to El Tunco, for example, you can see different kind of Bitcoin house or I don't know company, something like that. I saw a few building about it, and especially and also a food market. And food market, but not only about food, just a little market. And people selling there would have a little QR code with their Bitcoin address, and then you can pay in Bitcoin if you want to. But it seems quite unnatural, to be honest. And as well as on the library, you have like some kind of Bitcoin sign, and you have some kind of space with some books, and you have also a screen. I like that screen that said, "Ah, the government bought this amount of Bitcoin that was this amount," and look the trend, the chart, and so on. So it was kind of nice things, and I saw on some place here and there some references, some Bitcoin sign, and so on. But to the Salvadorian I spoke to, they say that they didn't add any Bitcoin and they didn't know anybody that was using it. And their impression, their sensation, that is also mine, is that it was maybe more of a marketing move so far than a real adoption from the population. And that's also what I felt from the country, that it was kind of trying to marketize itself using Bitcoin, using some logo, like the road when you are from the airport to the city center, to kind of show a new face of itself, to kind of for people to maybe change the view of it. And I don't criticize that because actually the country deserves it. Definitely, as I told you, it's a very beautiful country, absolutely very nice. I would definitely go again, and it's underrated. So actually, I don't blame the government for doing that. It's really worth knowing. So my advice would be yes, prepare your trip, but actually just be ready to create your own trip while you are there, and nothing will be made for you. You will have to kind of find out on the way. And best of luck. I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you learn something, and let me know if you are going anytime soon. On Santa Ana, I stay in a very nice hostel. I highly recommend you. It's called Casa Verde. I will try to put the link on the description. And yeah, like Casa Verde and Santa Ana, it's an amazing place to stay. So yes, thank you for listening to me until there, and yeah, have fun.